steroids. They say H. habilis and P. robustus. That's these two right here. They say they intermingled in the Rift Valley for approximately 700,000 years. Now I just can't see these two mingling peacefully. I would say this one enslaved that one, but I have no evidence of that, but that's what I would think. The fossils show considerable blending and variation, so much so that some anthropologists divide them into numerous species categories. The fossils that have thinner bones, higher rounded skulls, and larger brains are called H. habilis. The fossils that are more robust and ape-like are called P. robustus. Now, both H. habilis and P. robustus had brain capacities of about 650 cc's. They had the same brain capacity. And anthropologists state that P. robustus and H. habilis were not hunters, but they were nomadic gatherers and scavengers. They would pick up the remains that other animals left. Now, a marked climatic change, let me just move this one and catch that one. No. And I lost my place. And let's see. A marked climatic change throughout East Africa between 2.4 and 2.3 million years ago turned the Rift Valley into a relatively treeless region with scrub-type grassland. Now, the first tools were found at Omo, Ethiopia, in association with fossils of Homo habilis, or fossils that had Homo habilis traits. Now, these first tools found at Omo, Ethiopia, were created to scrape, chop, and cleave to prepare food. So you can almost be assured that they were created by H. habilis females, because usually the females prepare the food. Now, like all other races of co-creators, they passed on their tool-making skills. Carl Sagan wrote, "Perhaps the most striking aspect of the archaeological record concerning tools is that as soon as they appear at all, they appear in enormous abundance. It looks very much as though some inspired Australopithecus discovered for the first time the use of tools and immediately taught the tool-making skill to his relatives and friends. There is no way to explain the discontinuous appearance of stone tools unless the Australopithecus had educational institutions." Now, what happened was Australopithecus made tools and they could prepare the food better. These are females. And they made it with the males who appreciated their ability. And the earliest, and the mergers evolved to Homo erectus. Between those males who appreciated the females, they made it with them. And the earliest fossils of Homo erectus were found in Olduvai Gorge and date from about 2 million years ago. Now, H. erectus people had an average height of 5.2 to 5.6. This is the skull of the H. erectus up here, both of these. Now you see he still has this tremendous brow ridge up here. Look at that. But his head is a little bit bigger. Here's one, let's see, no, that's not H. erectus. This one is H. erectus up here. And here's another one of H. erectus over here. Look at, you can see that big bump. Now this is a chimpanzee, that's H. erectus, and that's Homo sapiens. So you can compare. See the difference? Look how the skull is, that's for the brain. It's the top of the skull is domed. Here is flattened. He's got this great big bump here. Here's another one of H. erectus. But H. erectus was an advance. You have to always look at, it's an improvement. Okay, now their limbs, they had an average height of 5.2 to 5.6. Their limbs resembled those of modern man, but their bones were thick. Their faces were short, their noses broad and flat. They were markedly prognathous, which means their chins dropped. It wasn't level, it dropped down. So their faces were long, and the back of their skulls were sharply pointed as opposed to being rounded. They had extremely well-developed, powerful muscles at the napes of their neck. They lacked chins, and their lower jaws retreated backwards from the level of their incisor teeth. Now, the front teeth of H. erectus people were larger and stronger than those of Australopithecus, but they were human teeth. H. erectus people had a continuous bar of bone above the root of their noses. They formed a projecting shelf, and they're talking about this. Now, Dr. W.E. LaGrosse Clark described them. He said the heavy and prominent eyebrow ridges first attract attention and are strongly reminiscent of those found in the gorilla and chimpanzee. As seen from behind, the whole brain case is flattened from above downward, with the width greater than its height and the widest part at its base. Now, H. erectus fossils from Olduvai Gorge show a better development of the hands. Scientists state that the hands are closer to those of adult Homo sapiens, having truly opposable thumbs. The hands of H. erectus of Olduvai Gorge show a powerful and precision grip in terms of opposability of the thumb. Now, H. erectus people manufactured heavy-duty scrapers and choppers, some of which were bifacially worked to achieve a sharper cutting point. They manufactured cleavers used for butchering and skinning large game. Now, their butchery sites and campsites near freshwater streams contained stone tools, bones, and teeth of various animals. Many were those of medium-sized antelopes. The long bones were generally split open to attain the marrow. Now, anthropologists state that the tool-making techniques were not standardized at Olduvai Gorge. A lot of their tools showed simple retouching to get a sharper point. And studies of wear on the tools show that they were used to cut wood, meat, and bone. Now, the oldest hand axes, this is a hand axe. This was made by H. erectus. And I bet most of us couldn't make anything like that. But you can see how he achieved that perfect point up there. Now, the oldest hand axes were found at Olduvai Gorge. They used hand axes for digging, woodworking, and as missile weapons. Now, modern anthropologists name the tools and tool-making techniques of H. erectus people the Acheulean industry. They say the tools demonstrate a manual dexterity, a control of stone flaking techniques, and an ability to visualize and produce a standardized object with little or no resemblance to the initial raw material. Now, the way that they started making tools remained the primary method or basic method of tool manufacturing for approximately 1.4 million years. So this man right here, or this structure, manufactured some tools, and people kept, like this, and people kept making those tools for 1.4 million years. And also, several of their sites at Olduvai Gorge, they also show circles of lava blocks, which suggest that they also constructed some type of windbreaks or some type of simple structures. Now, H. erectus evolved around 2 million years ago, and the Yellowstone supervolcano erupted as a creative spirit expanded through their baboon heritage. You know, it just wiped out. And the supervolcano released huge amounts of explosively boiling molten rock and ash. Now the ash cloud of a supervolcano can be seen for hundreds of miles. Now the ash is a very fine powdered glass, and it spreads slowly, but it spreads around the globe, and it can cause suffocation and dramatic climatic changes because it blocks the sunlight. And the ash kills vegetation, and animals face starvation. If they eat the ash, they develop Marie's disease, a lung condition that interferes with breathing. The same can happen to people. Now, the earth grew progressively colder. The vegetation decreased and the predators increased. Now, P. robustus tribes, when H. erectus made these clues, that P. robustus, the one with the ridge on the top of his head, he retreated to the caves in southern Africa. And their fossils from 2 million years ago were found in Kromdre, those 3 caves at the bottom. Now, P. robustus tribes went and allied with the Sinopithecus baboons, and they turned around and captured all the primates in Africa about 1.8 million years ago. And who was it? Dr. Leakey was looking at the fossils, and he said, wait a minute, the P. robustus fossils at Swartskran and Kromdre caves were the same, or looked the same as the P. robustus fossils from Oldaway Gorge.